the human angle. We begin with the global update that more than 9 million people have been infected and over 470,000 have died from COVID-19, according to Johns Hopkins University. In Nigeria, the current confirmed cases are 21,371, with 7,338 recoveries and 533 deaths. So far, over 120,000 sample tests have been carried out by the Nigerian Center for Disease and Control, NCDC. As the coronavirus spreads, soaring demand for oxygen is bringing out a stark global truth. Even the right to breathe depends on money. In much of the world, oxygen is expensive and hard to get, a basic marker of inequality both between and within countries. In wealthy Europe and North America, hospitals treat oxygen as a fundamental need, much like water or electricity. But in poor countries from Peru to Bangladesh, it is in lethally short supply. India has recorded the highest spike of 15,968 new coronavirus cases in the last 24 hours, taking the total to 456,183, with Mumbai and New Delhi as the worst-hit cities in the country. The Health Ministry also reported a record 24-hour increase of 465 deaths due to COVID-19, driving fatalities to 14,476. Indonesia has reported 1,113 new coronavirus infections, taking its total number of cases to 49,009. Health Ministry official Akmajuarinto said there were 38 more deaths reported, with total fatalities now at 2,573. Indonesia's coronavirus death toll is the highest in East Asia outside of China. Russia has reported 7,176 new cases of the novel coronavirus, pushing its nationwide case total to 606,881, the world's third highest tally. The country's Coronavirus Crisis Response Center said 154 people had died in the past 24 hours, bringing the official death toll to 8,513. Bulgaria will extend a state of emergency declared in response to the coronavirus outbreak until July 15th after another jump in new registered cases. Health Minister Kirill Anev has said Bulgaria began to relax restrictions to stop the spread of the virus earlier this month, but last week it reported 606 new COVID-19 cases, its highest weekly rise since the pandemic. Some 130 new cases were reported on Wednesday, bringing the total to date 4,114, with 208 deaths. Emirates has suspended flights from Pakistan after passengers tested positive for the coronavirus in Hong Kong. The Dubai state carrier, which is operating limited services due to the coronavirus pandemic, said the temporary suspension was effective June 24th. We are coordinating closely with the various authorities and will review and implement any required additional measures to satisfy all parties before we resume services from Pakistan, a spokeswoman told Reuters. Austria has issued a warning against travel to the western German state of North Rhine-Westphalia after a coronavirus outbreak at a meat-packing plant there. Austrian Chancellor Sebastian Kurz has said, the move puts the state in the same category as the Italian region of Lombardy, the epicenter of Italy's coronavirus outbreak, which was one of the worst in Europe. More than 100,000 people had died from COVID-19 in Latin America by the end of Tuesday, with more than half of confirmed deaths logged in Brazil, according to tallies by Reuters and AFP news agencies. Here is a breakdown of caseloads and death tolls in the worst affected countries. Brazil, 52,960 deaths, 1,145,906 cases. Mexico, 23,377 deaths and 191,410 cases. Peru, 8,404 deaths and 260,810 cases. Chile, 4,505 deaths and 250,767 cases. Jay Inslee, the governor of the U.S. state of Washington, ordered residents to wear face masks in public after the region saw its positive test rise by 35% last week. This is about saving lives. It's about reopening our businesses, he said. Saudi Arabia will strictly limit the number of people who can take part in this year's Hajj pilgrimage to Mecca. According to the Ministry of Hajj and Umrah, the annual pilgrimage will be restricted to a very limited number of pilgrims of all nationalities who are already residing in the country to ensure the safety of pilgrims due to the coronavirus pandemic. In light of continuation of the pandemic and the risks of coronavirus spreading in crowded spaces and large gatherings, and its transmission between countries and the increase in average infections globally, the Foreign Ministry wrote, "It has been decided that Hajj for this year will be held whereby a very limited number of pilgrims from various nationalities who already reside in Saudi Arabia would be able to perform it." Saudi Arabia has 50,000 active cases and has discharged double of that, but has lifted some of the lockdown restrictions it enforced when it broke out in the Asian country. The country's government said it is restricting the Hajj rites to locals due to the uncertainty that surrounds the spread of the virus and its incurability at the moment. This decision is taken to ensure Hajj is performed in a safe manner from a public health perspective while observing all preventive measures and the necessary social distancing protocols to protect human beings from the risk associated with the pandemic and in accordance with the teachings of Islam in preserving the lives of human beings, he said in his statement yesterday. Hajj is an annual Islamic rite that traditionally draws around 2 million people from around the world, and this year's edition is set to hold at the end of July. At least once in their lifetime, all able-bodied Muslims with financial means are required to perform Hajj, the pilgrimage to Saudi Arabia, which centers around 5 intense days of worship and rituals in Mecca, the city that houses Kaaba, Islam's most sacred rite. Due to the pandemic, some countries like Malaysia and Indonesia had earlier announced that they would not be sending their citizens to the pilgrimage this year. The Hajj scheduled this year to start at the end of July has not been cancelled since the founding of the Saudi Kingdom in 1932. The height of pilgrimage corresponds with the major Islamic holy day, Eid al-Adha, which commemorates Abraham's readiness to sacrifice his son on divine orders. Health officials in South Korea believe the country is going through a second wave of coronavirus despite recording relatively low numbers. Head of Korea's Centers for Disease Control, KCDC, Jung Eun-kyung, said the first wave lasted up until April. Yet since May, clusters of new cases have grown, including outbreaks at nightclubs in the capital, Seoul. Between those periods, daily confirmed cases had fallen from nearly 1,000 to 0 infections recorded for 3 days in a row. Officials yesterday said that over the last 24 hours, 17 new infections had been recorded from different clusters in large offices and warehouses. Dr. Jeong said the recent resurgence had led her to conclude that the country was in the grip of a second wave of the virus and that she expected it to continue. Until now, the KCDC had said that South Korea's first wave had never really ended, but Dr. Jeong said it was now clear that a holiday weekend in early May marked the beginning of a new wave of infections focused in the Greater Seoul area, which had previously seen only a few cases. Earlier yesterday, the city of Daejeon, south of the capital, announced it will ban gatherings in public spaces such as museums and libraries after a number of small virus clusters were discovered. The mayor of Seoul also warned that the capital may have to return to strict social distancing should cases top 30 on average over the next 3 days and the bed occupancy rate of the city's hospitals exceeds 70%. South Korea has managed to avoid locking down the country and has instead relied on voluntary social distancing measures alongside an aggressive track, trace, and test strategy to combat the virus. A total of 280 people have died since the country reported its first case on the 20th of January. Overall, more than 12,000 infections have been recorded, and it is thought that currently there remain 1,277 active cases in the country. The coronavirus pandemic has plunged the world into uncertainty, and the constant news about the pandemic can feel relentless. All of this is taking its toll on people's mental health, particularly those already living with conditions like anxiety and obsessive-compulsive disorder. Being concerned about the news is understandable, but for the many people, it can make existing mental health problems worse. The World Health Organization released advice on protecting your mental health during the outbreak, as the fear of being out of control and unable to tolerate uncertainty are common characteristics of many anxiety disorders. So it is understandable that many individuals with pre-existing anxiety are facing challenges at the moment. In protecting our mental health, there is need to limit the news and be careful what we read, as reading a lot of news about coronavirus can lead to panic attacks, and when one is feeling anxious, thoughts can spiral out of control and one can start thinking about catastrophic outcomes. Therefore, having long periods away from news websites and social media can help manage the anxiety. Also, limit the amount of time spent reading or watching things which aren't making you feel better. Decide on a specific time to check in with the news. There's also a lot of misinformation swirling around, so stay informed by sticking to trusted sources of information and reliable websites. There is also the compelling feeling to stay informed and research the subject, but know at the same time that social media can be a trigger. Be careful about accounts tuned into and avoid clicking on coronavirus hashtags. Instead, have time away from social media, watching TV, or reading books in its place. Mute keywords which might be triggering on Twitter and unfollow or mute accounts. Also, mute WhatsApp groups and hide Facebook posts and feeds if you find them too overwhelming. Stay connected with people and in touch with those you care about, as this will also help to maintain good mental health. Have regular check-in times and feel connected to the people around you. With weeks and months of the coronavirus pandemic ahead, it is important to have downtime to avoid burnout. Try to access nature and sunlight wherever possible. Do exercise, eat well, and stay hydrated. Notice and acknowledge the uncertainty as it comes to mind. Pause and breathe, and explore the present moment, because right now, in this moment, all is well. And that will be all for this edition of The Human Angle. You can send your videos and pictures to news@ProShareNG.com or programs@ProShareNG.com and let us share your experiences and views. Visit our website www.ProShareNG.com to get more updates from our news stories and videos. Also, follow our social media platforms showing on the screen for further updates on our market reports. Till tomorrow, thank you for watching and please keep staying safe.